Have you ever tried approaching a girl holding down back? Or a cute boy with a rabies serpent as a pet? Or a sexy onesan with a sword so long that it makes you a bit self-conscious? Well, here are a few tips that make shooting those half-core shots a lot more manageable. Alright, let's look at our first target. You meet a handsome slender man and you want to give him some food since he's always complaining about being hungry. You know that a way to a man's heart is through his stomach. However, he's been denying your approach by throwing out 5C to 5A rebeats. As a man with shorter arms despite being taller, you're having issues. One of the least risky things you can try is to dash block. Dashing in this game is very different from most others in that it allows you to block at almost any parts of its duration. Watch as Merkava tries to hit Enkido in the early parts of the dash, but he is able to block. This is because the dash can be cancelled into a block. The important thing for Enkido in this situation is to buffer the block as soon as you start the dash. If the opponent does not attack, he will move the minimum distance of the dash. If they do attack, the dash will be cancelled into a block. Think of it as a small defensive option select. Now, if we repeat this process, we can slowly approach the handsome man without taking too many risks. As a heads up, recording Merkava to repeatedly do 5C to 5A is a great way to practice this technique. Remember that you can also do dashes with forward and A plus B instead of forward twice. This might be faster and easier for some players. Oh, I almost forgot. If you're in Merkava's position and want to keep the opponent out, you can do things like overheads to catch crouch blocking opponents, change timing of your attacks to catch opponent as they input the dash, or do unexpected things like dashing in and throwing instead. Let's look at another example. The nerd you're having a crush on is keeping you at bay with 6C, while his pet serpent is looking to strike you in the back. You've been trying to approach with assault, but all his attacks are hitting you out of the air. One solid method is to jump assault. The jump will give you the extra height required to dodge these attacks, and the assault will give you the horizontal distance to close the gap. Very useful technique in a lot of situations. As a side note, I also use this technique when an opponent is jailing me in the corner at mid-distance. This is one way to surprise an opponent and potentially cross up for a side switch. It's now time to approach this sexy onesan that you met at your local shrine. You want to say hi, but the problem is she's swinging a sword the size of a basketball court and is dunking on anybody who dares to run into its range. So, what can you do? Oh, you're going to love this answer. Block, or more specifically, shield. Since all her aerial slice specials are mids despite how it looks, you can comfortably shield until you win the vorpal cycle. From there, you can use any unsafe approach tool from your kit and force your way in while chain shifting. You can also simply gain meter for EX moves. Use whatever that gives your character a fighting chance. If you do take this approach, it's more likely that Yuzuriha players will do more risky things like teleport to combat this defensive strategy. Be ready to counter those options. Now who said that make her chase you instead doesn't work? You can also take a similar strategy to that girl holding down at full screen. However, unlike sexy onesan, she cannot teleport and skip neutral, so there's a likely chance that she will charge for grid, because that is what any scared person would do against stalkers. Now you have two choices. You can also charge to roleplay your favorite Dragon Ball Z episode, or take this time to close the gap. Maybe even get a hidden if Batista is getting too greedy for grid. Of course, if the opponent is aware, they can fake a charge and counter your approach. Regardless, you can coax her to play this game of charged chicken. And that is better than her simply 360 no-scoping you from full screen. At the least, you can add a mental stack on the player. With that said, this will be the end of this tutorial on how to approach your opponents, crush. The mileage will vary significantly between the character you and your opponents are playing, but cycling through these methods will open up new ways to get those hits in. The important thing is making players who are mindlessly hitting strong attacks in neutral uncomfortable and forcing them to change. Anyways, hope it helped. If you liked this video, I suggest taking a look at my other guides and supporting this channel through Patreon. Alright, until next time, have fun with fighting games.